What an interesting week and a half that we've had so far. Doing something a little bit different this time around, and I actually want to talk about the Nintendo Switch 2 reveal that we had about a week ago. And just to say it all right off the back, I thought the Nintendo Direct was awesome for it, but still some very weird things that happened throughout it that we had to find out afterwards, but we will talk about that here in a moment. So let's take a moment and actually talk about the Direct and the main key points on Nintendo Switch 2. Biggest things with it is, of course, it has a bigger screen size now. It's at a 7.9 inch LCD screen. I have a note on it, I had to look at it real quick. Biggest thing that they kept on posting about it or showing off is it can run at 1080p 120 frames per second, which is surprisingly, or it's really good, especially for a Nintendo console. Nintendo consoles have always haven't been, I don't know, like only 60s like the standard for them most of the time. The whole thing, the whole system's bigger, the Joy-Cons are bigger, like lengthwise than thickness-wise. Thickness is the same thickness as the Nintendo Switch 2, or not Switch 2, the first Nintendo Switch. And then one of the other things is that they keep boasting about too is the mouse controls they can have. And seeing from some other people's videos of actually them using it, from a lot of feedback from people who got to use the console at their New York demo that they had for it, pretty good response and it works pretty well, but still a little weird for it. It's more of a gimmick because it's just, we already have computer mice, and using that on a Joy-Con is interesting, but nonetheless, I'm interested in see what's going to come to fruition with it. One thing I forgot is it can play certain games in 4K when docked, which is actually pretty cool. However, just remember, you're going to need a compatible TV for it that runs true 4K, TV or monitor or recording, whatever you're playing on. Remember that. And I will say, personally, I absolutely adored that Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. I thought it was really cool with everything they're showing off. The console looks cool. I understand it's not like a big, like, reinventing the wheel, but that's Nintendo's kind of track record is like that in general, to where, like with the Wii, very successful. Then they had the Wii U, didn't do good. DS, successful. 3DS did okay at first, but then did pretty good afterwards because it didn't meet up to their sales initially, because prices ended up dropping right after, or a little bit after when the 3DS had launched. So it's pretty common for Nintendo to, for their second iteration of like a console, they don't really reinvent like much new. They just attempt to improve upon. But I think the Switch 2 is a good rendition of how it's been improved upon, personally at least. However, there's one very weird thing with this whole Direct, and that main thing is there was no prices posted at all. And most of the time, game companies and everything, when they are posting their new consoles, games, or I wouldn't say games, but at least the console part of it, they usually will post on how much it costs or whatever they're revealing, like near the end of the presentation, showing everybody off like, hey, look at this cool new thing we have going on, here's the cost. But we didn't have that this time around, which is a really weird. So shortly after the whole Nintendo Switch 2 Direct that was going on, we ended up finding out the cost through different pre-orders and stuff. And we were supposed to have pre-orders a few days ago, but that hasn't happened because a lot of BS going on in the world, and we'll get to that later. But a lot of people were getting really mad about the matter of fact of how much the console cost after when we found out the pre-order costs. $449 for the base console, and then the $499 for the bundle console, bundle edition with Mario Kart World. Personally, I think the console price is okay where it's at, a little bit higher than what a lot of people are expecting, but it does pack on a lot more hardware compared to the first Switch, so I can understand the cost, the $150 cost increase. And I know a lot of people are mad. I understand it's not as cheap as it was, but taking consideration inflation and how console prices usually are, and we have to remember this is both a home console and a portable system, so we have to remember it's also like a two-in-one product, at least not to glaze it, but we have to remember the matter of fact of you can take it wherever you go and then play it at home on your big screen TV. The big problem with it though, not the Switch itself, it's the game prices. Nintendo is introducing this thing called quote-unquote variable pricing, which is they charge as they feel of what the game, like what they feel like the game's gonna cost. So like with the two main games that they're promoting for brand new games for only on Switch 2, Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bonanza. Fantastic name, by the way, for that. So they're charging for Mario Kart World $79.99 for the base game. And they think it's worth that much. And I'm just like, for granted, they do have a Nintendo Direct on April 17th, so we don't know the full aspect of the game besides the open world part, the seamless tracks, and you race from track to track and driving to the next course. We still don't know why it's $80. And then Donkey Kong Bonanza is $69.99, which is the typical game price nowadays for the $70. But it's like, okay, so are you telling me that Donkey Kong Bonanza has less playtime or less content in it compared to Mario Kart World? Like, how can you judge or base your own games? Same genre, not same genre, but like same company who's making these games. Like, this one's worth more, but this one's not as much. Like, we need a little bit more details on these pricing adjustments and like why is this game more expensive than the other? And amidst all these pricing issues, or everybody's flipping out, rightfully so, about a lot of these different pricings. Like I said, for me, the console, I understand why. Games, I'm not so sure why, with this whole variable pricing thing. Like, they're even selling Breath of the Wild for $70 for Switch 2 edition, and Tears of Kingdom for $70 for Switch 2 edition if you never picked them up for the Switch 1. But it's like, Nintendo, drop your prices a little bit. I know you probably made your money back and then some on some of those games, but come on, have some sales, please. However, in the rendition of all this, though, CNBC did have an interview with Doug Bowser, and there were some interesting points that he was bringing up. And the thing I found the most crazy thing about it is all these pricing issues that we have, or pricing, the dumb pricing. That's all before, not even like with the tariffs or anything. That's just what they felt like charging, which is even crazier with me. I'll post the interview down below. It's like a 15-minute thing. Actually pretty solid for it. Like, I'm not gonna lie, Doug actually did a pretty good job with talking to the interviewer, but I say it's a good listen to, at least, and go listen to it. And it was the same day as they had the Nintendo Direct, as they're doing the New York City thing when they're demoing the Switch 2s to the public and for content creators and such. But, and even to miss, we were supposed to be able to pre-order these things off of, Best Buy, Target, Walmart, GameStop, wherever you can get them at, April 9th. And because of the tariffs, we didn't get that because they pushed it back, which is even crazier because now there's even the potential of them raising those prices. But we still don't know when pre-orders are because all those tariffs got put on pause. It's like the typical 10% or whatever it is. And they're on pause for 90 days, except for China. But I'm not even gonna talk any more about that other than that, because I hate talking about politics, and following a lot of this shit unfortunately does affect a lot of our lives, but something we unfortunately have to kind of deal with for now. And now my big thing is that I'm wondering, of all companies, why to make that jump for higher game cost is Nintendo. It's definitely interesting because they're always been more the family focused console to bring everybody together, but also like they want this in every household so their families can have fun, enjoy the good games that they're producing and having other developers bring on. And definitely this is going to price out a lot of people in general, whether just the system itself, or they can get the system but then they don't have enough money for Switch 2 games when those games are coming out. So it's just like, it's a catch-22. It's just like you can either get the console and no games, or it's just gonna be kind of shit out of luck, unfortunately. But at least they did say they will still manufacture the Switch 1, just because they understand some families can't afford it. And even with them coming out and saying that, yes, that's more of a humility thing, coming out and saying that, but at the same time, it's a huge slap to the face, in my opinion, on that. Because they're just like, hey, sucks that you're poor, but we're still gonna make this for you. So, just so you know. Oh, and another thing is I forgot to talk about is the whole Nintendo Switch World thing, or the tech demo that they're having. That should be a freebie out the box with the console to at least like make it a better of a sell value. Just be like, okay, like cool, I'm getting a couple games for this $500, Mario Kart and this Nintendo Switch World. Or they're charging $10 for a digital only game when it's a tech demo. We have things like Astro World or Astrobot from Sony. They pre-packaged in with the PS5. And that thing was phenomenal. At least it was something like, it gave a little bit more value to the console, and it showed the history for that of like the PS1, PS2, the PS3, PS4 had little renditions of like all the characters all dressed up as or like the little Astrobots are cosplaying as, and it's like Nintendo. That's a little disappointing on how that wasn't, you guys didn't do that. And a thing recently came out with Reggie, the old main guy for Nintendo. He fought for Nintendo Switch, or not Nintendo, for Wii Sports on the Wii's launch to have it baked in with the console already. And because of him constantly fighting for it, they were able to do it. So it just kind of shows that it doesn't quite seem like they're for the consumer as much anymore. And not to hate on Nintendo, I love their games. I grew up with Nintendo. My very first system I ever owned was a Game Boy Color. And I still have it to this very day. And so it's very, like, Nintendo is in general, like with all their games growing up with, very near and dear to me. So I do have a long history of playing a lot of their games over the years, and always been one of my go-tos. But it's like still a huge slap in the face to its like loyal, dedicated fan base. I understand a lot of those loyalists are still gonna get the Switch. Like, I'm gonna get the Switch too. I'm not even gonna lie to you, because I honestly just want Mario Kart. Mario Kart's my bread and butter in games. I absolutely adore playing it, and it's a lot of fun as a whole. But still, it sucks at the same time for, except the cost and everything. I'm sorry I'm keep looping over and over and over about it, but that's the big thing with it. And I just kind of want to get off my chest a little bit. But this whole situation for Nintendo Switch 2 has just been interesting as a whole, because it's just been up and down hill with like slopes and just nonstop with like news coming out. So like, we're all up here really hyped for the Switch 2, and the direct was awesome. Like, hey, wait a minute, where's the cost? Then starting to go down, like, it's $450. Okay, that's not a problem. $80 games. Okay, what the hell, Nintendo? Oh, $10 tech demo. Why didn't you just package that in with the box? Oh, hey, pre-orders are canceled. Cost might go up. It's like, oh, great. And it's just keep going down and down and down nonstop, and we're all just wondering, like, what's going on? And my problem with it is, too, I wish Nintendo themselves, on like whether their social media or video or anything, they come out and say themselves like, this is what's going on. Okay, like the transparency. I want transparency. It's kind of frustrating to constantly see, like, it's just interviews with like a reporter. They're like, hey, can you answer these questions? And that's all we get. I want Nintendo to come out and be like, hey, this is what's going on. This is the situation. We can't say much, but this is what we're working on right now. That's it. At least some sort of communication in that kind of way. And if they're at least continuously talking back, like communicating us, it does put a lot of people at ease, because I understand it's like talking points for a lot of people when other, news articles, business pages, blogs or anything like that. But still, the communication is still important, because at least it could still generate more hype for what's for their system as a whole. And I already know there's a ton of hype in general, and people are going to get their hands on it one way or another. Unfortunately, there's also going to be scalpers. Don't buy from them. I know who's going to be doing that. Technically no, but I know there's going to be people doing it in general. Do not buy from them. Do not give it to them. Make them lose all their money. But yeah, I think this was a whole pretty interesting situation that Nintendo's kind of been put in. Unfortunately, like a lot of it is on their own doing, but some of it is definitely out of their control. Like I said, with tariffs that have been going on, and I understand there's a lot of different news things going on. I wish I can give you some more information, because I only know everything myself that's going on. I pretty much just gave kind of the bare basics, and I know there's a lot of other channels talking about a lot of these different things, like beat 'em ups or Arlo. Topic Arlo has been talking a lot about this stuff. But there's a lot of other YouTube channels that goes a little bit more in depth, but I kind of had to just get a lot of this off my chest, because it's kind of annoying as, a little bit more of a hardcore Nintendo fan. Not hardcore, but like dedicated at least. I'm always getting their systems. I'm always playing their games. I always have a good time with them. But I really hope Nintendo didn't just set up a precedent where, like, hey, we're gonna be the first one charging an $80 game, so other game companies are gonna do it, and half the time it's a buggy garbage mess. And now other companies are like, hey, let me get in on this action, you know. And let's hope it doesn't lead to that, because it more than likely will. And if it does, we're all kind of screwed as gamers a little bit for newer games. However, remember, we all more than likely have a huge backlog of games that we haven't played yet. I know all of you people who will get their games on Steam sales, for an example, all those $1 to $2 games. But just remember, though, play all your games that you do have in case pricing does get a little too high. Anyways, though, that's pretty much it for me. I hope you all enjoyed the video and stuck around and listened to me kind of rant on about it. And, you know, as just a general consumer, like a lot of you are, trying to get the voice out, which is a bit nice. And it's good to get something like that off my chest a little bit. I know it's not like a big thing, it's more of a luxury, but still, it's people like playing games, and there's a lot of families who are Nintendo families and only play a lot of Nintendo games, especially with their kids. So I understand the frustration behind all of it, because I grew up in that kind of family. But I hope everybody the best, like as always. Like, share, comment on what you guys think on the whole Nintendo situation. What you guys think of the console cost and the game cost. Told you what I thought about it, and I would like to hear your guys' thoughts about it. But hope you all enjoyed the video, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Have a good one, everybody.